5090s are already delayed. More Battlemage GPUs are allegedly on their way, and the RTX 5080 super underwhelming. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Thursday, January 30th, 2025, also known as launch day for the RTX 5090 or 5080, unless there are stock issues, in which case you won't be able to get them. However, we here at UFD Tech are trying to make sure that you have as much access to hardware as we do, so we have two giveaways going on right now. As you're watching this video, we should be doing a camp out live stream at Micro Center to pick up some of these GPUs ourselves. If there's no stock, maybe we've already returned home and the stream is already over. Who knows how it's actually gonna turn out? I don't, but we're leaving for Micro Center very shortly to wait in line to potentially pick one of these up. And in order to celebrate that, we're gonna be doing a live drawing of the RTX 5080. Just come watch the stream, figure out how to enter. It's gonna be a live random drawing. No purchase necessary, all of that kind of stuff. This Founders Edition 5080, it's worth it if it's free. Additionally, you come check out the Twitch stream. We have an RTX 5090 full PC with a 9800X3D and the Height Taro Milk Y70. Absolutely gorgeous. So we have both a 5080 GPU we're giving away, as well as a 5090 full PC that we're giving away, just to celebrate you guys being here, partnering with us as part of the community. And we just love to have you part of the stream. So in case you think you can't get a 5080, 5090, UFD Tech might be the way to do it. But turns out MSI might not be the card to get today because they're delaying it until February 6th. MSI reporting that they won't have stock through MSI's official US stores until February 6th. Now, it's not quite clear how much stock of MSI cards is making its way to other retailers like Micro Center or otherwise. It doesn't seem like there's gonna be very much of any card out there whatsoever, but it does look like MSI is gonna be limiting their output, at least for the next little bit, especially because of the stockouts that Nvidia happened to be talking about with regards to how many GPUs are going to be out there. And certain retailers in other countries like Japan are even holding lotteries to get you a 5090 or a 5080 because it's just going to be so difficult. I'm curious how our situation is going to turn out at Micro Center today. Again, maybe the stream is a VOD by the time you're tuning in. Who knows? Allegedly, there's supposed to be a voucher system. Sometimes they've done a lottery system, but you know what's not a lottery? Checking out today's video sponsor, Falcon Northwest, because you know what you're getting with them, and that is a high quality PC built to your specifications and customized from the inside to the outside according to what you want. Falcon Northwest has been in the industry for decades, being older than probably a lot of you watching this episode, probably younger than a lot of you too, but still they've been at it because they are dedicated to the community and customer service. They got you a 3-year warranty on all of their PCs with 1 year of overnight shipping, sending it to them if they can't diagnose it remotely, and then back to you so that you're not without your PC for any length of time. And in case you want to check out the PCs, they've already got them spec'd out with the 5080s and the 5090s, like their Tiki Mini Tower, which is uber slim and can fit the Founders Edition 5090. Or you have something like the Frag Box, which is meant to be more portable, toteable, taken around everywhere with you. If we planned a little bit better, maybe we could have brought a Frag Box to this Micro Center launch. And the Talon, which is the personal PC that I rock at home, put the Founders Edition 5090 in there recently. It's been, and I have Reece's gorgeous face staring at me because Falcon Northwest can customize your PC with artwork. We've had that on the Tiki and the Frag Box that we've given away as part of our charity streams here at UFD Tech. Falcon Northwest has been a great partner through all of that. And they even go with Threadripper workstations in case you want to up the ante on what your hardware can do. But you should check out the company that's been tried and true for decades and will continue to be so through the 50 series launch and hopefully more decades yet to come. So big thanks to Falcon Northwest for sponsoring today's video. Check them out at the link in the video description. And we get to check out more details on upcoming Battlemage GPUs because there's more GPUs being found in shipping manifests. However, don't get excited for an ARC B770 or B750 because that doesn't appear to be what we're getting with these shipping manifests. We're looking for the G31 GPU, which is supposed to be the bigger one. Intel hasn't said anything. We actually haven't seen many rumors indicating that it's going to exist anytime soon, but instead, these three new Battlemage GPUs are still built on the B21 die, which is what we already have in the B570 and the B580. Now, likely, this could be some Intel Arc Pro GPU, which could potentially be the 24 gigabyte B580 that we've heard discussed previously. That gives you more VRAM for things like large language models, potentially even run the new DeepSeek AI. It's not quite the news that I was waiting for, but new Intel GPUs is some at least positive light in all of the new Nvidia stuff that's been coming out. Which, at least for the 5070 and 5070 Ti, which we're expecting to launch on February 20th, according to other reports, we now have confirmed specs by Nvidia about what these GPUs are going to be, at least based on what GPU die, and it looks like the GB202 die, which is in the 5090, is going to be shared by the 5090 and 5090 alone. The GB203 is going to be shared between the 5080 and 5070 Ti, and the GB205 is going to be dedicated to the RTX 5070. We're going to get into why this is a big problem towards the end of Hot News when we talk about the RTX 5080 reviews, but suffice it to say, this is not pro-consumer in any way, shape, or form. We'll discuss that in a bit, while Reece is very pro you being a consumer who saves money with today's hot deals.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals on the internet. And hey, we got deals, so let's jump straight into them with the EVGA XR1 Lite 1080p 60 external capture card back on sale for only $29.99, making it $70 off. But then next up, we have something for our full-size keyboard fans with the Ajaz AK35i V3. This wireless gasket mount hot swappable mechanical keyboard is going for only $70.51, making it $34.49 off. And then lastly today, we have this KTC 27-inch 1440p 240Hz OLED gaming monitor, which you can pick up for only $509.99 with included promo code, making it $290 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, and you're back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, there's been a weird deal going on with Spider-Man 2 because it's supposed to come out on PC today, but as of yesterday, it wasn't available for pre-order, and finally, after them announcing it ages ago, they finally dropped the PC specifications. It is coming out today, and they're actually removing the PSN login requirement for this and other single-player Sony games on PC, so there is some victory there for PC gamers, but the Spider-Man 2 PC requirements, about sensible, right? Ultimate ray tracing 4K 60, you're looking at a 4090, 1440p. Very high ray tracing, you're looking at 4080, 7900 XTX. Regular 1440p high is only a 3070 and 6800. This is all sensible according to what we've seen from the Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remaster launches on PC. But what's launching today is the RTX 5090 and 5080. They're going to be available at retailers somewhat. Some of them are. It's not going to be worldwide available with heavy stock, but reviews did come out yesterday about the Founders Edition and any other MSRP versions, which there basically are none. And if you just take a look through all of these links on VideoCard's GPU review roundup, it's not positive. You got things like Optimum saying, Nvidia, this is a joke, right? Highly recommend you check out their video. Highly recommend you check out Hardware Unboxed. I also really appreciated Digital Foundry's investigation on it. One of the interesting things to note is that the appreciation of what the 5080 is actually depends on what game was tested, because certain reviews seem to indicate that the RTX 5080 is more power hungry than the RTX 4080 and 4080 Super. But I've seen other reviews that indicate that the 5080 is more efficient, because it just depends on what game is utilizing the architecture in what specific way. Additionally, the RTX 5080 appears to be between 9 and at most, depending, I think it's like F124 is the most improved game. That's about like 23% better. But between the 5080 and the 4080 Super, we're looking at 3 to 9%. It's not very much. Thankfully, Nvidia didn't give us a price increase, but they also didn't really give us much of a performance increase. And you have the breakdown here from Digital Foundry showing you with a base of the RTX 5080 being 100% performance. You can see that the 4080 Super, at least in their testing, is slower than the 5080. The 3080 significantly slower, and the 7900 XTX is just a little bit less than the 4080 Super. The 4090 still absolutely demolishes the 4080, and the 5090 demolishes both of those. But this is one of the first generations that we've seen where the 80 class card doesn't top the previous generation flagship. It used to be that you could look at a 3080 and be confident it was going to top the 2080 Ti. You could be confident that the RTX 2080 was going to top the GTX 1080 Ti, if not the Titan XP. It was just that way for generations and generations, and the RTX 5080 breaks from that. It ruins that streak, which we're going to examine in a little bit after I discuss a couple other points. Digital Foundry just kind of giving a price per frame when it comes to US pricing on these GPUs, and what they can conclude, which is logical but unfortunately frustrating, is that the RTX 5080 is the best $1,000 GPU because it is really the only $1,000 GPU at this point. It does beat the XTX, which is technically a $1,000 GPU at this point, and I guess that's something to celebrate, and especially with AMD not replacing it with something that's going to beat it, the RTX 5080 is just gonna stand alone in its price category, not because it's that much better, but because Nvidia is getting rid of the 4080 Super. Because while AMD releases new GPUs and then discounts the old ones, Nvidia releases new GPUs and discontinues the old ones. Very different. But also showing that the price per dollar of when it comes to how many frames you're getting, the RTX 3080 was just about as good as the RTX 5080 is. There's been price stagnation when it comes to the dollar per frame that these GPUs are delivering, and that's with a $300 price increase. You're getting the price increase with a frame increase that's basically matching dollar per frame. It's not very effective. But also one of the things I want to discuss, because I've seen mixed reporting on this in various different reviews, some people saying that the RTX 5080 has the exact same cooler as the RTX 5090, and it turns out that's not exactly true. While it is the exact same shape and dimensions and outer profile, it uses different internals. While the RTX 5090 uses liquid metal and a vapor chamber cooler to help cool that 575 watts of TDP, the 5080 doesn't use either of those. It just has regular thermal paste and no vapor chamber, which makes sense. The 5080 drawing 330, 360 watts, it can be cooled by this pretty effectively based on all the reviews that I saw. It doesn't need the liquid metal. It doesn't need the vapor chamber. It still does pretty well in this configuration. It's still a well-built, well-designed, highly effective cooler, especially with the triple PCB setup. So there is some changes under the hood with the 5080. It's not quite the exact same as the 5090 underneath. But let's take a look at a chart that was posted that somebody said, NVIDIA is gonna be pretty mad when we start to evaluate things by this metric. So this chart basically takes what is the highest end GPU die, and then just kind of looks at the percentage of CUDA cores compared to the price. And so if we go back to something like the RTX 20 series, the Titan RTX used the fully fledged TU102 die. The RTX 2060 was in that 40 to 45% ballpark of that Titan RTX, but it only costs $350 to $300. Pretty reasonable for being a very cut down version. The RTX 30 series, something similar. The 3090 Ti costs $2,000, and a 45% version of the 3090 Ti cost $400. A price increase, but still within reason. Then you have the RTX 40 series, where 45% actually was the 4070 Ti and Ti Super, and then what did Nvidia do there? They doubled the price to $799. And what has happened with the RTX 50 series? Well, it's the RTX 5080 that is 40 to 45% of the full-fledged die, and they have yet again bumped up the price to $1,000. So with every successive generation, Nvidia has been charging us for more of less. The more you buy, the less you get is essentially what is happening with the RTX 50 series. It is just giving you less of the actual total GPU die for more of the money that's coming out of your pocket. Is the RTX 5080 the best $1,000 GPU you can get, as long as you can't get a 4090 used at that price? Yeah, kind of. Best brand new one you can get, because the 7900 XTX quite isn't there. But is it sensible? By no means. It is a very strange GPU. It's just kind of existing there as being half the price of the 5090, but really not matching the 5090 in terms of performance. It's an odd duck. It's an odd duck for Nvidia's greed. That's how I'd evaluate it. And so instead of keeping this around, as mentioned, you know what's a better price than $1,000 for 45% of the fully fledged GPU die? Free, baby, and that's why we're giving it away. Come check out our stream either on YouTube, if we're still at Micro Center, or on Twitch. We're gonna be drawing the winner for the RTX 5080 Founders Edition on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You have to make sure you give us your email address if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitch, we can just DM you there. But you know what, Nvidia, don't charge people $1,000 for this. This should be a $399 GPU according to how much it is out of the GB202 die. But I'm gonna give it away for $0. Thank you, Nvidia, for sending this over to me, and I will make sure somebody else gets to delight in the card, because truth be told, I'm delighting in my 5090. And you guys delighted to comment on yesterday's episode of Hot News. We got Crazy Skeleton saying, is it me, or does the mic quality sound kind of funky compared to the last videos? New mic, maybe? And then X-Umo saying, why does your voice sound like a voice prompt? This is because for some reason, the microphone that we used didn't record yesterday. And I have no idea why it bricked itself, but it did. Software issues. So we had to use the microphone that was on the camera that's across the room to do some compression and enhancement to make sure that it was tolerable and not as echoey as camera audio can be. And then it's Prod saying, dang, so that means the 16 to 20 series is next on the driver support end later this year. I don't think that they're gonna end the support for those GPUs later this year. It's been 5 years since those, 5 to 6 years since those GPUs came out. If we were on a normal cadence before the 9 and 10 series, yes, it would make sense that that's happening, but I think Nvidia's setting a new precedent where it's gonna be between 8 and 10 years for GPUs, which honestly is positive, right? Like, while there is that concern of like, when are they gonna do it? It's also been nice that they haven't yet. The software support has been good. It's kind of like when phones give you, 7, 8 years of security updates. It's valuable because it means that you can continue to stay on it. And despite, Nvidia's lack of financial sensibility to the average consumer, this is a value boon, right? Like, this is something that Nvidia's doing that, it's not necessarily always a given in other areas of tech. So I thank them for that. And then Dark Sky saying, I think that's hypocritical for Nvidia to say TSMC is charging too much for the product when the company like Nvidia overcharges for their products. Brother, you don't get to be the world's most valuable company and worth trillions of dollars by not being hypocritical. You don't get to be worth that much by making moral and ethically enhanced decisions. You don't get to have that much cash piled under you like Smaug because you are the bastion of truth and sensibility. You do that by being ruthless and making strong business decisions, which sometimes happen at the expense of other people and other companies. Everybody else kind of just has to get out of your way. And I'm not saying Nvidia does that. I'm just saying, hey. And then Midori Ringo saying, while I agree that there should be domestic manufacturing capacity for every country, not just for chips, COVID era should have taught us that lesson, the reality is that it will take at least 5 years, if not a decade, to get fabs up and running. See Intel Foundry issues. It's not just the actual fabs and machinery. It's getting trained and qualified people in, which takes time, unless you're planning on importing talent to cover the shortfall in the interim. Yeah, I mean, the tariff situation does seem to create a lot of short-term financial strain, allegedly, with that expense coming with the benefit of long-term independence and prosperity. That's the theory. That's what's being proposed. Obviously, the future is not a guarantee. Obviously, input does not always equal output when it comes to humanity and life, and progress is not inevitable, nor is it given. It always has to be bought and earned by those who want it. And so we'll just see how it plays out, right? Like, that's all we can do at this point. It's a confusing era we're living in right now. And then Golden Hawk asking the question I think a lot of people have, saying, at what point would we feel the effects of a tariff on Taiwan, considering it would take local companies 4 to 5 years to set up semiconductor manufacturing? We would essentially have to deal with high prices throughout the current term. So I guess the question is, do we buy now or wait? I can't answer that, right? Like, just kind of how I was responding to the previous comment. How soon would we feel the effects of a tariff on Taiwan? Usually, and this, again, not guaranteed, usually the way companies do this is that whenever they get higher costs, even if it doesn't make its way through their channels yet, they're just gonna pass that on to the consumer at the very beginning, right? They're gonna increase their pricing immediately. And then let's say that the tariffs get rolled back later on, they don't drop the price. But also there is a little bit of brinksmanship going on here. There's a lot of politics happening here where it actually may not happen, and it's just words to potentially enact some sort of change that the current administration wants to see, and then the tariffs don't actually end up hitting. Or like we saw with the tariffs that happened between like 2020 and 2023 or 4, they just get they get implemented, but then there's exemptions for certain things, and then certain things also get delays where like every year that has to be renewed. It's not a very clear, very obvious situation. There's nuance and details and complications that are not just easy to prognosticate of how this exactly is gonna play out. Could there be tariffs? Absolutely. Is that the communication? Yes. If there would be tariffs that are being implemented in the next few months, would it be best to buy the GPUs now? Theoretically, I would say yes. But what we don't know is how the tariffs are going to be implemented. Will they actually affect things like GPUs? Will there be exemptions made? Will companies like Apple and Nvidia meet up with the current administration and advocate for their companies to not be affected by it and get some sort of written loophole in the law, in the tariffs, to make sure that they're taken care of, but smaller companies like AMD, who don't have a seat at the table, have to deal with the higher pricing? right? Like all of that happens. All of that logistically difficult politics plays out, and we won't know until it happens. And so I don't want to tell you, go out and buy a GPU right now, because that's just kind of unnecessary catastrophizing. I think what I want to give you is just, let's be aware of it. Let's look at the situation, let's evaluate it. I'll try to keep you updated here on Hot News. I'll try to give you stuff for free, so that way, you know, I'd like to give back to the community where I can. Do I need a 5080? No, I don't, and so maybe one of you guys can benefit. That's kind of what I'm trying to go for here, and I'm gonna go now because I have to get ready to go to Micro Center. Hopefully we're not too late. We are leaving at the end of the business day on Wednesday, so hopefully that's not too late. It would be such a shame if we can't get a GPU, but hopefully we'll see you on stream. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.